Welcome back to Let's Get Real with Danny. We're in season 2 now, and this season's going to look a little different because season 1 was a ride. I loved every moment of it because it taught me so much, but it also taught me, I need to slow down. I need to slow down a little bit. And so you might not get consistent podcasts this time around, and I'm not going to apologize for that. I think once a month will probably be what it is, but it doesn't matter. The main goal here is that I'm here, we're talking, and we're just getting real because that's the whole point of this, right? And this first episode, I really want to talk about a little bit about vulnerability because this is the thing that I think I've struggled with the most without really admitting it. Like, something that I've been struggling with, and I have struggled with knowing what line is being vulnerable, and then there's oversharing, and then there's, shutting down. There's like a whole spectrum of like what vulnerability or how willing to share you are. And I feel like a podcast is like, oh, of course I'm being real and of course I'm sharing. But like it's not all of it. Like it's not sharing all of it. And I want it to be that. I want it to be all of the things. And so vulnerability, I want to dive into this because of course it's something that I struggle with. Of course it's something that I'm focusing on constantly, and not just with other people, but with myself. And, you know, the last couple of months have kind of forced me to dive into that a little bit. And, I always talk about like business here, or my business and the struggles, but I think these struggles kind of go across all aspects. And so it was a struggle. I didn't know what I was struggling with because I was in it. And I don't know, and it feels so obvious to say that, but sometimes when you're in a struggle, you don't realize what you actually need to do to get out of that struggle, which is to talk about it and to be vulnerable about it and to be open about it to the people that are, especially to the people that are close to you. Because I was like, I just need to figure this out, and I need to figure it out on my own. And, that's not the case. It's not like I don't have a support system, but I struggle to lean on them. I really struggle with that. And that's something that I realize, that being vulnerable and expressing what you're going through and doing all of those things is a necessary means to figuring out what your next step can be to combating the struggle that you're in. And I feel like there's a difference between, talking about your struggles and working through your struggles. Because like talking about your struggles, you could just be like talking about the thing over and over again, which I did. It's not like I wasn't doing this. I was doing this. Okay. But just talking about the thing that you're struggling with versus like, what's the step that's going to help you start to get through this? And so having different avenues and different support systems is what helped me really look at, okay, I'm struggling with my business. I'm struggling with how to keep things moving forward because it felt like I hit a fucking wall. Like it literally felt like a wall. There was not a lot of movement. There was not a lot of things happening in my business, in the sense of like not getting new clients, not seeing things happen in the way that I thought they would happen. Like okay, let me just break it down. And that's just, again, get real with this, because in 2025, now that we're in December, it's like I look back, and because I had to go through all of my finances because I'm a business owner, right? Like, I mean, everyone should be doing this anyways, like spending and everything like that. Going through everything that I have made and spent and all of that. And I had the best year or best month of my career this year. And then I've also had the lowest months, plural, of my whole career. And And this is all 1 year. And what I was feeling initially was that I'm failing. I'm not doing a good job at running this business. I knew that I was a good coach. I knew that I could do the work. I was just struggling to like run the business. I don't know. It was crazy because and then I also connected myself to the business, but it was like, oh, there's such a, oh man, we can really dive into that. But I was really allowing my value and my self-worth to be tied to how my business was doing and not seeing how much I was already going through at the time and allowing there to be some slower energy because it was kind of like the months that were the month that was the best and the months that were the best was chaotic and it was a hustle and it was like I don't even know where the time went when those things are happening. So naturally, as I was reconfiguring some things and realizing like, okay, that is not going to be sustainable long term, as we do with a lot of things, right? It's not just our work, it's everything that we do. But I was just like, okay, something doesn't feel right. Like, I feel like that is not what I need to do. Like, I felt disconnected from how I was running my business to everything else. I was like, there's a disconnect. And so I hit that wall because all of a sudden I was like, it was like this bright shining light saying like, this isn't the way that you're supposed to be doing this. And I didn't know it until I like really like sat still for a while, which I was forced to sit still and to really think about what was happening. And I was like, oh, I'm a little disconnected from what I'm trying to do here. And it was starting to be something that it wasn't, which is like focusing on, oh, I had the best financial month of my career and I need to sustain that. And what are the things I got to do that? It's like, it started to escape from me what I was actually trying to do, which is just help more people. And then it clouded that. And I think no one wants to talk about this stuff. No one wants to talk about how, we let the idea of making more money gets in the way of what the true goal is. And it's like, it was like I was following someone else's roadmap to achieve that. And it wasn't working for me because it wasn't meant to work for me. And now I'm trying to rewrite what that looks like and using all of the things that I learned from this past year to apply into now how I want my business to run. And yeah, it was a heavy, few months. I would say the whole Q4 was a really heavy time for me. And I don't think enough people talk about how hard running your own business is, especially when you're all on your own, like running the thing itself. Thankfully, I had some really amazing people a part of my life and, people that were there alongside with me and were like, hey, like, take the route that you need to take for yourself. And I'm like, okay, I need to actually listen to that. And I was like, yeah, I'll do that. And then it was like, okay, I actually need to listen to that advice and just go back to what I love to do, which is connect with people and to just, be fully immersed in the community that I've created, like even on Instagram or everywhere that people are able to share with me where they're at and I can share with them, where I've been and have real connection again. And I think that's where I was losing it. It was like I had to run a machine. It wasn't, and I was like, that is not the goal for me. So yeah, it took some like time to really reflect and look at where I was at. And the vulnerability piece is like honestly all of this. But I have had to have a lot of hard conversations, hard choices and decisions in my life to continue to go in the direction that I think things need to go. And unfortunately, that means having to be okay with those decisions that you make and saying, you know what, this is a hard thing to process and a hard thing to deal with, but I need to look at what it's trying to show me. Like everything I believe is a mirror. Like it's it's amazing, but it's also terrifying because you will start to really see everything around you as a reflection of how you see yourself, and what you're the energy that you're giving to yourself or the energy that you're not giving to yourself, right? And I, some of the things that I was seeing was like, oh, that mirror is showing me that I am giving my everything to other people and not to myself, or I'm letting there be no boundaries between myself and other people, or and sometimes it's really hard. It's really hard going through moments where what you think is the best thing for you isn't, and learning that is hard. And yeah, so this is me getting vulnerable, and this is talking about vulnerability, and it's not easy. And I've talked to so many clients even about how we can just we it's okay to talk about the areas that we're struggling with. It's okay to say, hey, I'm not doing well. That is okay, because we all go through that. And something that really highlighted that for me was I went to like a women's conference, leadership conference, and it was essentially just a bunch of female entrepreneurs who are running their own businesses. And it's just so cool to see that, to be in a room full of that energy. But when you know truly connect and talk to them about how did they get to where they're at, and what were the ups and downs like, and you're having conversations with women who are saying they were applying for their jobs thinking that they couldn't continue their business, and it that they were being very vulnerable by sharing that. We all try to think of like, oh, everything's fine, everything's good, and like, especially with social media, it's always just the highlight reel. It's always trying to put on a brave face. But when someone can truly be vulnerable and share with you like the struggle, like it's such a beautiful thing, because then I all of a sudden didn't feel so alone. Because it's it's not it's funny because it's not I never wanted to give up, but I started to feel like it was getting so hard to do the thing that I really wanted to do, and it was like, is this trying to tell me something? But it was essentially I needed to slow down and really like pay attention to how I was doing the thing, and just being able to be around like-minded women who are like, the same person who said I was looking for jobs also said I came up with a whole new plan for my business in terms of marketing and putting myself out there, and like the drive that is there to say no, I'm going to stick with the belief in myself and in the business that I've built to continue to move forward. And I think that applies to so many things, is like, if we set a goal for ourselves, how can we set that and stick with it, and weather the storms that are inevitable? Inevitable? That doesn't sound like a real word. Inevitable. But it's one of those things that you really, when you stick to the thing that feels like the truth for you, and the thing that feels like is meant for you, and the thing that you feel like you are meant to be doing, that's the most important thing. Is like, sometimes you have to sit back, get uncomfortable, look at the things that you're experiencing, and let them tell you what it's trying to say and what you should tune into. Because sometimes it's telling you like, hey, the direction you're going is not gonna keep you going for very long, and it's important to listen and to reflect. I've reflected a lot. I've never in my life journaled as much as, and I don't want to call it journaling because that feels so like, I don't know, but I just write out my thoughts. I just think about, okay, what is it that I want to be true? What is it that I want to be true for me? And continue to speak that to myself and continue to reinforce why I'm doing what I'm doing, and to stand in that. Like, we all have a why with whatever that we're doing, with whatever goals that we have. We all have a why. And sometimes that gets blurry. Sometimes that gets, someone else tries to tell us what our why is, and we listen to that more than what our own why is. And that gets in the way of everything. And then it starts to take us down a path that we're like, wait, something feels weird. Like, I don't know where I'm even going anymore. And I feel lost. And then you look back and you're like, oh, this is not my path. This is not the road that I was supposed to go on. Like, where am I? And then you start to not even backtrack. You just like looking around. I feel like maybe I'm a broken record. Maybe I've said this before, but it's just, you start to find where it's, there's always going to be some resistance, and that's what makes us stronger, right? But there needs to be, with that resistance, there needs to be reward as well. I think everything that we do, if there's resistance, there is a piece of a reward, whether that's like you feel accomplished of something, you feel proud of something, or you get the thing that you've been working hard to get. But to always have like your why, to always have that like intention behind it, to say, hey, this is what I'm working towards, and to be okay with being vulnerable in those moments when you are feeling resistance and you feel like, I don't know if I can get through this resistance, and you have someone alongside you, or a group, or you have people. You need to connect to people. And that's what I've learned is, like, in order for you to get to where you want to be, you need people, and you need to continue to keep showing up and be vulnerable in it. Like, I'm reading Brene Brown's Dare to Lead right now, and it really does speak to how powerful vulnerability is in our day-to-day lives, not just in business or being a leader. It's like, how can we be a leader in our own lives and lead our own lives and not even just others, but how can we lead our own lives in a place that is fulfilling? And it's through connection and vulnerability. And there's something to be said about how powerful that is. And I think a lot of us steer clear of vulnerability because it's scary and it's uncomfortable. But if you're not willing to get uncomfortable, then you're not gonna see that reward. You're not gonna, that resistance, you're not gonna get the reward at the end of it. And it doesn't have to be like these grand things that you have to like, oh, I gotta push through these things. It's like, sometimes it's small. Sometimes it's like, I don't want to post on social media today, but you're like, but if I don't show up, and someone might need to see this like story about whatever, you're sharing something personal on your story, and someone else is like, oh my God, I totally needed to hear that. Like, what if you didn't post that, right? Like, what if that person never saw that? Maybe that turned their whole day around and you didn't even realize it, right? So it doesn't have to be big. It can be, I went outside for 5 minutes today, and then the sun shined on my face and it felt amazing. Like, it could be that simple. But the more that we lean into the vulnerability, the uncomfortable moments, the resistance, the more that we can start to grow and to push ahead. So yeah, that is all I have to say about that for now. But it's really important to always stay true to your intention and to lean into that and let that be the guiding light, and not let anyone else's intentions overshadow or outshine that. Just always, it's cheesy, but stay true to what you believe. Yeah, that's something that I just wanted everyone to go into this in new year with, that message of, okay, we're we're leaning into vulnerability now. We're not shying away from it, because that is what builds beautiful connection across everything that we do. So thank you so much for listening to my podcast. And if you feel free to rate, review, and share this with someone who you think might need to hear something about vulnerability. Maybe you're like, man, this would hit really good with like my family or my friends, whatever. Send it to them, because they might need even a piece of this to remind them where they're at, what they're doing, and to either keep pushing forward or to step back and say, hey, where am I at right now? So again, appreciate you guys so much for being here, and for continuing to follow along with this journey. And send me a comment, send me a DM, follow me on Instagram, and let me know, like, what are the things that feel powerful for you right now, so that you can really lean into that and I can help support you with that. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.